Welcome back to Midnight Scary, where darkness hides the most terrifying tales. Just last week, these chilling events unfolded, casting a shadow of fear over the most ordinary of places, our neighborhood fast food restaurants. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and join me as we delve into the horrifying secrets that have just come to light. One fateful afternoon, Stephanie and her family decided to stop for lunch at a newly opened Culver's. The midday sun couldn't dispel the icy dread that was lurking nearby. As they walked in, Stephanie, then just 17, noticed a strange man. He sat motionless in a black Chevy pickup truck, the driver's door wide open, a cigarette smoldering between his lips. His eyes were like sharp blades, carefully watching every move around him. But in a small town, odd characters weren't exactly rare. They chose a table by the window, unaware that from that very spot, they would witness a horrific tragedy. The man's truck remained parked. He continued to smoke, patient as a predator awaiting its prey. Lunch stretched on longer than expected. As employees began their shift change, a sound ripped through the quiet. 3 sharp pops echoed through the air. Stephanie watched in horror as a female employee collapsed to the ground, blood spreading across the cold concrete. The man slammed his truck door shut, hit the gas, and sped away, leaving behind a scene of utter terror. Police swarmed the restaurant. Everything after that was a blur of shock and disbelief. The evening news revealed the horrifying truth. The man was the victim's ex-boyfriend, who had decided to end her life because of a breakup. He had waited, silently stalking, only to strike at the end of her shift. 190 years in prison could never erase the image of the woman lying in a pool of blood, a memory that would forever haunt Stephanie. She would never dare to return to that Culver's again. Summer of 2022, Stephanie, now a little older, got her first job at Burger King. For a young girl, it was a doorway into the adult world. But darkness soon descended. A strange man appeared one fateful Tuesday night. He was older than the other customers, his hair streaked with gray, his skin dry as if untouched by moisturizer for years. His eyes, they didn't move like normal eyes. They were fixed on Stephanie, a stare that made the young girl feel deeply uneasy. He ordered a Whopper with cheese and a medium fry. When Stephanie asked about a drink, he didn't answer right away. Instead, he offered a peculiar smile, a smile that made her stomach churn. "You're new here, aren't you?" he asked. "Yes, it's my first month," Stephanie replied. "You have a nice face," he said. "I bet you hear that a lot?" Stephanie quickly handed him his receipt, trying to keep her voice steady. He sat down at a table near the counter, eating slowly, his eyes never leaving her. In the nights that followed, he returned, as regular as a ghost, always on Stephanie's shift, always ordering the same thing. A Whopper with cheese, a medium fry, and no drink, but his comments grew increasingly disturbing. "Love that braid you're wearing tonight. You look tired, sweetheart. Long day, huh? If you ever wanted a break, I could take you somewhere nicer than this greasy place." It wasn't just the words, but the way he looked at Stephanie, as if measuring, assessing her. Fear seeped into every shift. Even when she wasn't at the counter, she could feel his gaze from across the restaurant. Then came that terrifying night. One Thursday night, after 11 p.m., Stephanie and her manager Tanya were getting ready to close. She checked her phone. 11:22 p.m., she had texted her mom she'd be home soon. As she stepped out the back door, into the dark alley behind the building, Stephanie felt an eerie silence. Then she saw him. He was leaning against the wall near the dumpster, half hidden in the shadows, a cigarette burning in his hand. "Hey there," he said. Stephanie froze. She hadn't seen him in the restaurant that night. "I thought you'd come out sooner," he added. "I've been waiting here for a while." Stephanie's heart sank. "What do you want?" He stepped forward, flicking the cigarette away. "I just wanted to talk. You're always so busy inside." Stephanie tried to move past him, but he blocked her way. "Listen, I like you, okay? I think we'd get along. You seem smart, kind. I could take you out sometime, maybe show you something better than this greasy place." "No," Stephanie said, her voice trembling. "You need to leave." "I'm not trying to scare you," he said quickly. "I just—" "Tanya!" Stephanie screamed. The back door slammed open. Tanya appeared, her eyes scanning the alley. "Steph, what's going on out here?" The man's eyes widened. He bolted, running into the darkness before Tanya could get more than a glimpse of his outline. Stephanie couldn't stop shaking. Tanya walked her to her car and stayed until she calmed down enough to drive. They called the police, filed a report, even showed them security footage, but nothing ever came of it. He never came back. But sometimes, when she's alone in a parking lot or walking home after dark, Stephanie still wonders if he just found someone else, someone who didn't scream in time. Coming from a privileged background, working at Taco Bell was just an experience for this young woman, a way to feel normal. But normal can sometimes hide the most terrifying things. The first few shifts were actually fun. The rhythm of fast food work, the strange but kind coworkers. But then that fateful night arrived. 11:03 p.m. Her shift was almost over. She was in the back, stacking trash bags for the usual trip to the dumpster. That's when she noticed the truck, an old white pickup, beat up and rusted, parked in the far corner of the lot, where the lights barely reached. Something about the truck made her uneasy, as if it were waiting for something. She grabbed 2 trash bags, one in each hand, and pushed open the back door into the silent night. Not a single star. The wind carried the faint smell of fries, bleach, and wet asphalt. The truck was maybe 20 feet away, half in shadow. She tried not to look at it, focusing on the dumpster. The second bag snagged on something, maybe a box, maybe metal. She leaned in to shift it. That's when she saw it. Near the corner, half hidden by a flattened soda box, was a finger. At first, she thought it was a prank, a fake Halloween prop. But then she saw the dirt under the chipped nail, the dried blood caked on the knuckle, and the pale, cold look of the real skin. It was real. She froze. Everything inside her just stopped. She turned and ran, bursting through the door, shouting for her manager, tripping over a mop bucket. At first, her manager laughed, thinking she was messing with her. But the moment she saw it, her whole face changed. She didn't say anything, just backed away, locked the door, and called 911. The police arrived quickly. Blue and red lights flashed across the wet pavement. They roped off the back area with yellow tape. The truck was gone. She had given her statement. So had her manager. The rest of the crew stood silently in the back room, confused. No one had seen anything unusual. No one had even noticed the truck arrive or leave. Days passed. Eventually, they received news. The finger belonged to a missing woman, a homeless woman. The rest of her body was found dumped in a lake 40 miles north. No arrests, no suspects, nothing else. But she couldn't stop thinking about it. She continued working there for a few more months, pretending everything was fine. But inside she felt broken. Every time she took out the trash, she felt like someone was watching. She started dreaming about the dumpster, an endless abyss, something waiting at the bottom, breathing. Eventually, she quit. She told everyone she needed to focus on school. But the truth was, she couldn't stop thinking about that woman, about how close she had come to something she didn't understand. Sometimes, strange actions can signal something far more dangerous than we realize. That day, this young woman was in a hurry to get her favorite personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut. But when she arrived, she saw a young woman standing right in front of the door, blocking the entrance. She was facing her, but still kind of pushing the door open, as if she was going to hold it for her from the inside. Except she didn't move. She just stood there with this weird, vacant look on her face. After squeezing past, the young woman said, "Thanks." No response. The other woman just closed the door behind her and then walked over to one of the tables and sat down. Didn't even order anything. Didn't even look around. Just sat. The young woman figured she was just waiting for someone, or maybe just charging her phone. It was too early, and she was too hungry to care. She placed her order, grabbed her pizza, and headed back outside. She was already running 10 minutes late. When she was about 10 feet from her car, she heard someone yelling behind her, "Ma'am! Ma'am!" She kept walking, not in the mood for random shouts, but then she saw someone running fast toward her. It was the same woman from before. She now had a suitcase, a big, expensive-looking one, along with a nice coat and a travel backpack. "Ignoring me is rude, ma'am. I know you can hear me." By this point, the young woman was officially unsettled. She reached her car and opened the driver's door, grateful for her oddly parked spot next to a concrete divider. No car beside her, in front or behind, just a little bubble of escape. The other woman closed the distance and stopped just short of her car door. "I need you to take me to the terminal," she demanded, her tone imperious. "I'm sorry, I can't," the young woman replied. "I'm already late for work." She gestured vaguely down the road. "The terminal is right there," she added, pointing in the direction of the transit center. "You can literally walk. It's a 5-minute walk tops." The other woman completely ignored her. "You have to take me," she repeated. Now the young woman was getting angry. "I'm not taking you anywhere," she said flatly. "I'm leaving." She sat down and closed her door. And as she turned the key in the ignition, she saw the other woman grab the passenger door handle and start yanking on it hard. Then she started pounding on the window with the palm of her hand. Thankfully, her old Jeep had manual locks. That door wasn't going to open. The other woman tried again. Then she started shouting louder this time, something about the young woman being a horrible person and selfish. And then, just when she thought the other woman might walk away, she dropped her suitcase and ran to the back of her Jeep. She started digging through her purse with one hand, slamming her fist against her rear window with the other. Not wanting to wait and find out what she was reaching for, the young woman put her Jeep in 4-wheel drive, spun the wheel, and gunned it, bouncing her way out of the parking lot. In the mirror, she caught one last glimpse of the woman chasing her to the sidewalk, still screaming. Then it was gone. The young woman was left with many lingering thoughts. Was she a bad person for not giving her a ride? Or was this one of those self-preservation tests you read about? Sometimes, strange actions can signal something far more dangerous than we realize. That day, this young woman was in a hurry to get her favorite personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut. But when she arrived, she saw a young woman standing right in front of the door, blocking the entrance. She was facing her, but still kind of pushing the door open, as if she was going to hold it for her from the inside. Except she didn't move. She just stood there with this weird, vacant look on her face. After squeezing past, The young woman said, "Thanks." No response. The other woman just closed the door behind her and then walked over to one of the tables and sat down. Didn't even order anything. Didn't even look around. Just sat. The young woman figured she was just waiting for someone, or maybe just charging her phone. It was too early, and she was too hungry to care. She placed her order, grabbed her pizza, and headed back outside. She was already running 10 minutes late. When she was about 10 feet from her car, she heard someone yelling behind her, "Ma'am, ma'am." She kept walking, not in the mood for random shouts, but then she saw someone running fast toward her. It was the same woman from before. She now had a suitcase, a big, expensive-looking one, along with a nice coat and a travel backpack. "Ignoring me is rude, ma'am. I know you can hear me." By this point, the young woman was officially unsettled. She reached her car and opened the driver's door, grateful for her oddly parked spot next to a concrete divider. No car beside her, in front or behind, just a little bubble of escape. The other woman closed the distance and stopped just short of her car door. "I need you to take me to the terminal," she demanded, her tone imperious. "I'm sorry, I can't," the young woman replied. "I'm already late for work." She gestured vaguely down the road. "The terminal is right there," she added, pointing in the direction of the transit center. "You can literally walk. It's a 5-minute walk tops." The other woman completely ignored her. "You have to take me," she repeated. Now the young woman was getting angry. "I'm not taking you anywhere," she said flatly. "I'm leaving." She sat down and closed her door, and as she turned the key in the ignition, she saw the other woman grab the passenger door handle and start yanking on it hard. Then she started pounding on the window with the palm of her hand. Thankfully, her old Jeep had manual locks. That door wasn't going to open. The other woman tried again. Then she started shouting louder this time, something about the young woman being a horrible person and selfish. And then, just when she thought the other woman might walk away, she dropped her suitcase and ran to the back of her Jeep. She started digging through her purse with one hand, slamming her fist against her rear window with the other. Not wanting to wait and find out what she was reaching for, the young woman put her Jeep in 4-wheel drive, spun the wheel, and gunned it, bouncing her way out of the parking lot. In the mirror, she caught one last glimpse of the woman chasing her to the sidewalk, still screaming. Then she was gone. The young woman was left with many lingering thoughts. Was she a bad person for not giving her a ride? Or was this one of those self-preservation tests you read about? The familiar glow of McDonald's, a beacon of fast food comfort for millions. But tonight, we peel back the greasy veneer to reveal a terror lurking beneath the Happy Meal smiles. It was a Thursday night in late July, the kind of humid heat that clings to you like a second skin. The clock was ticking towards closing time at McDonald's. For our storyteller, it was just another monotonous shift, until he walked in. He was a specter of the streets, layers of dirty clothes clinging to his gaunt frame despite the sweltering heat. His beard was a wild tangle, his eyes wild, unfocused, as if peering into another dimension. He shuffled to the counter, locking his gaze onto the young employee. "Hi, welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you tonight?" The employee offered, a practiced smile plastered on his face. But the man didn't answer. Instead, a crumpled piece of paper slid across the counter, the handwriting barely legible, a chillingly specific order. 2 Big Macs, 1 large fry, 2 apple pies, 1 Oreo McFlurry, and a large Coke. Okay. That'll be..." The employee started, but the man's voice, low and grave, cut him off. "I'm not paying. You're going to make that for me. All of it. A chill snaked down the young worker's spine. Sir, I can't just give out free food. Company policy, you know. The man simply stared, a beat of silence stretching into an eternity of dread. Then slowly, almost casually, his hand disappeared inside his coat. What emerged wasn't a wallet, but something far more sinister. A knife. Not a large, threatening blade, just a simple folding pocket knife. But the way he held it, the deliberate way he presented it, sent a wave of icy terror crashing over the employee. He didn't brandish it, didn't wave it around. He simply showed it, as if it were a natural extension of his request. You make the order, or bad things will happen tonight. That's all, the man stated, his voice chillingly calm, like discussing the evening weather. Paralyzed by fear, the employee could only nod. Okay, I'll get started. He turned, his legs moving on autopilot towards the kitchen, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He tried to mouth a desperate plea to his coworker Marcus. Help. Knife. Danger. But Marcus, oblivious with his earbuds in, simply gave a thumbs up. Every item on that horrifying order was prepared. The Big Macs, the fries, the pies, even the McFlurry, a task that would surely incur the wrath of the manager, Rita, as the machine was in cleaning mode. But nothing mattered except getting this man out of the store. When the food was handed over, the man took it silently, a single nod his only acknowledgement. He stuffed the bag, overflowing with his bizarre and menacing order, and walked out, disappearing into the night without a word, without a scene. The employee stood frozen, gripping the counter, the encounter replaying in his mind. Rita emerged from the back moments later. You all right? You look like you saw a ghost. But it wasn't a ghost. It was real. The glint of the blade, the chillingly calm threat. It was all too real. He stayed until closing, but sleep was an impossible luxury that night. The next morning, a simple text message sealed his departure. I'm quitting. Rita's reply was just a curt K. He never went back. The golden arches now serve as a permanent reminder of the night the world felt terrifyingly unsafe, even within the cheerful confines of a fast food restaurant. Our next story takes us to the familiar aroma of coffee and donuts, a place where many seek a morning pick-me-up. But for one employee, a late-night shift turned into a terrifying ordeal. It was a last-minute shift covering for a sick friend at a quiet Dunkin' Donuts. Around 11 p.m., the manager asked our storyteller to sweep the floors. That's when he walked in. He was a disheveled figure, bald with a long, unkempt gray beard, thick glasses perched crookedly on his nose. His clothes were stained, his sandals worn thin. He shuffled to the counter, his tired eyes meeting the employees. Just a large black coffee, please, he mumbled. The order was simple, and after a brief, seemingly genuine smile from the man, the employee returned to sweeping. But the man lingered, sitting uncomfortably close. Then he spoke. You're very pretty. A polite, slightly caught off guard, thank you, was the response. Then, leaning in, he asked a question that sent a shiver down the employee's spine. Want a ride home? When is your shift over? A quick, firm, no thanks, I have a ride, was the instinctive reply. The man's smile vanished, the warmth in his eyes replaced by a cold, almost sharp intensity. What's your schedule? He demanded. I'm not allowed to give out that information, the employee stated firmly. The man grumbled, grabbed his coffee, and left without another word. The next night, the friend, Sophie, was back, and another coworker, John, was working the drive-thru. The previous night's unsettling encounter was recounted. Sophie looked worried. Then John spoke, his face pale. "That guy actually called the store earlier. He asked about you." A wave of cold dread washed over the employee. The possibility of this man knowing who she was hadn't even crossed her mind. Just then, the man walked back in. Sophie went white as a ghost. John looked like he'd seen one too. Forced pleasantries were exchanged, but the man's crooked grin sent a clear message. "No, but can I take you home?" Before the employee could answer, John burst out of the drive-thru window. "No way! She's going anywhere with you, dude! Get out of here before I call the cops!" The manager was furious at John for leaving his post, but John didn't argue. He insisted on switching shifts with the employee until the morning crew arrived. Later, the manager, surprisingly, took out the trash himself. What he whispered upon his return sent a jolt of pure terror through the employee. "That guy was waiting for you in his trunk. There were 5 other big guys with him." Despite John's heroic intervention, the manager brushed it off, deeming the man harmless. But the feeling of being unsafe lingered, heavy and suffocating. The next morning, their co-worker Maya delivered another chilling update. "That guy came back last night, said he'd be waiting for you when you got here." That was the last straw. Both our storyteller and Sophie quit. John, the brave protector, tragically lost his job. Now, the 3 friends share an apartment and work at a grocery store, a place where the shadows feel a little less menacing. But the question remains, what might have happened if John hadn't taken out the trash that night? Our final story tonight delves into the world of familiarity turned sinister. Sometimes the most unsettling threats come from those we think we know. For 2 to 3 years, our next storyteller worked as an assistant manager at a Starbucks in an affluent neighborhood. It was generally a positive experience, until the store manager unexpectedly left, leaving her in charge. The next 3 months were chaotic, understaffed, and overwhelming. But then, a new manager arrived, Jason. Jason came in like a storm, barking orders, but his attempts at authority fell flat. Ironically, the team responded much better to the assistant manager's requests. After an initial period of adjustment, things took a dark turn. Jason started making unreasonable demands, piling on work, and micromanaging in ways that made no sense. The assistant manager eventually reached her breaking point and put in her 2 weeks' notice. She found a new position as a general manager at a nearby Dunkin' Donuts. The role was different, but she liked it. However, she often worked late shifts, closing the store alone. That's when the unsettling began. Every night, around closing time, the same car would appear, parking directly in front of the store. An older dark sedan with tinted windows. The headlights would remain on, the car never moving. One night, as she locked the front door and walked to her car, she heard an engine start. The same car's headlights shone directly at her. It just sat there, engine running. A knot of dread tightened in her stomach. She hurried to her car, locked the doors, and pulled out of the parking lot. Almost immediately, the dark sedan followed. Her drive home wasn't far, but a gut feeling warned her against going straight there. She took the highway, empty at 1 a.m., desperately trying to lose the car. She switched lanes, sped up, but the car remained glued to her tail. Panic set in. Her phone battery was dying, but she managed to call her husband, whispering about the car following her. He urged her to drive straight to the nearest police station. As she approached the station, the dark sedan suddenly sped past her, disappearing into the night. Relief washed over her, but the feeling of being watched remained. A week later, she saw the same car parked outside Dunkin' Donuts. This time, her coworkers insisted on calling the police. When the police arrived, the driver stepped out. It was Jason. He claimed he wasn't doing anything wrong, just that he had developed a crush on her during their time at Starbucks and wanted to say hi. The police couldn't arrest him, but they ordered him to leave and not come back. That was the last time she saw Jason. But even now, the memory sends chills down her spine. A simple crush? Or something far more sinister? This is a stark reminder that danger can lurk in the most unexpected places, even in the guise of a former colleague. These are just a few real stories that remind us that the world can be a frightening place, even in the familiar settings of our everyday lives. Stay vigilant, trust your instincts, and remember, sometimes the scariest things happen when you least expect them. Subscribe, like, comment, and share if these stories left you with a lingering sense of unease.